Hi, this is Marina from Dark Star Astrology, bringing you the new moon in Aquarius. Now, this will take place on the 27th in the US and on the 28th in Europe. Now, this new moon doesn't make any aspects at all, but we do get Venus square Saturn at this new moon. So that will be what we can kind of focus on as a theme. It also falls on a little known fixed star called Alpha Tucana, which is in the Toucan. And we can also look at what the moon feels like when it's in Aquarius decan 1. So, well, really the needy embryonic moon is not so comfortable in a decan that is so much about cutting the umbilical cord to freedom. It's also one that will tend to rebel against its mother country and feel at odds in whatever home they find themselves. The moon here is continually searching for the promised land, but rarely finds it. And this new moon in Aquarius 1 is so idealistic that it finds squaring its high expectations with earthly domestic reality extremely hard. However, by the end of the month, any alienation that is felt matures into great self-sufficiency. The ability to look after oneself then is in turn bestowed upon the various waifs and strays that this new moon can attract into your life. At this time, we might find ourselves providing temporary accommodation for those making difficult life transitions. A cosmic home is found amongst other outsiders. So let's look at the fixed star. Now, this Alpha Tucana is at 9 degrees Aquarius, and it is quite a comical looking beast. It adds kookiness and a garish mask to this new moon. Toucans toss objects such as berries in the air and jest around with each other playing catch. It's a behaviour that earned them the title of the Joker of the Forest. Toucans can actually pitch and are said to never miss their target. This behaviour reflects the focused aim of Sagitta, the arrow, which is another constellation, which is also found in this decan. Toucans use their long, sharp beaks to duel with each other, much like a fencer. The word bicker comes from beak. So at this new moon in Aquarius decan 1, we should enjoy a good verbal fencing match. It's a great time for political rants, and entertaining though these pundits are, they might be accused of going too far with the vitriol. Toucans are known to be one of the noisiest birds in the forest. So let's look at Venus square Saturn, which is the only aspect that really stands out for me at this new moon. Now, that really means that love and money will be taken very, very seriously. Expressing affection could be difficult, though, at this new moon, not because we don't want to, but because we fear rejection. Personally, or in the wider world, potentially difficult clients are best approached by going through a third party or from behind some form of safe shield. Until at least you feel confident to confront these people directly, take time out to work very, very hard on your self-worth. As this month progresses, though, those touched by this new moon will develop that elusive self-confidence, just like the classic ugly duckling who turned into a swan. Try not to unconsciously push partners away and work towards thawing any ice that's built up out of mistrust. Now, marriages can be rocky at this time as well if they are touched by this new moon. Either you or your spouse could feel ignored or unappreciated by the other, so give them a hug. Being taken for granted could happen in a working partnership too, but the good news is that if the romance or business collaboration makes it through this new moon testing phase, it should age into the very finest vintage for you to enjoy for many years to come. So the summary then, in the news we could see some freak shows, wacky demonstrations or otherwise attention-seeking behaviour. A lot of it will just be a verbal circus and not to be taken seriously. The baby boomers will have their structures well and truly tested by the millennials. So this is the weird thing that's going on at the moment, because there is a real, everything's sort of almost upside down nowadays, because in the 1960s, the hippie generation were the ones who were rebelling against the structure of the system of Saturn, the traditional family, all those really old, basically family values and traditional values. So those are really the baby boomers, and they're in power now. So it's kind of weird we've always had the sort of rebellion against the establishment as being seen as being a Uranian thing, whereas the establishment is a Saturnian thing. But I think it's gone the other way, because obviously the baby boomers who are now in power, they were born, they were probably born in the 50s, really, but a lot of stuff that was seeded at Uranus conjunct Pluto, which really the seed moment was anywhere between, I think, 65 and 72. So people born around that time, and I'm one of them, we're almost like we're the result of that seed. And I just think Generation Y, I think we're Generation Y or Generation X. Actually, I'm not sure. We are a good kind of example of what those seeds turned into. But I think it's the people who are really, or the generation that are really rebelling against that, and us really, are the millennials. And they're almost going towards being more Saturnian, because they've had enough of permissiveness, really. And I think it's kind of interesting too that with Islam coming into Europe, and I had this kind of thought myself, was like, it's bringing back religion, because we've thrown away, we've demonized Christianity to the point that we have thrown the baby out with the bathwater, and there are no morals anymore, and there is no sacred sex. It's become debased, it's become pornographic, it's reached the excess, it's reached the limit that it can grow. It cannot, what else can you legalize within sexuality now? Because it's gone to the limit. Now it's kind of getting worrying, because now it's got to the point where, and I don't know if this is a real thing, I did Twitter about it, that the LGBTQ has now added a P to it, which is supposed to be pansexual, but I've also seen that it's pedosexual, which just, no, please. Does that mean that that's the end conclusion? I don't know, because it's horrible, because what that's saying is that gay liberation, it's just an extension of that, and I don't like that thought. I don't think that's true, actually. So I think it's putting things in a very dangerous place, where the backlash could go extremely Puritan in order to get us back to kind of base. That's why I think the precious snowflake, that's why I kind of used it as my symbol for this month, because it's kind of got to, and it's funny also, the toucan as well is a very colourful kind of bird. So it's like sexuality's become a spectrum, it's become a rainbow, it's become everything is possible, and there are no Saturn limits. Everyone's a special snowflake. But the weird thing is that, when you look at snow, everyone's a special snowflake. But then when you look at it from a distance, it all looks the same, scarily the same. So that's my kind of little extra bit to this new moon. Those are just some things that I've observed, and I just think it's getting a little bit, I think it's gone to the point where it's Weimar Republic. A lot of people are saying that, and then we know what happened after that. So if we don't want it to go too extreme, we need to see things before they get ridiculous. So I will continue with the summary. So what I wrote then was the old guard who have worked hard on building something solid and lasting will not take kindly to some upstart crapping memes over that. And what I mean by the old guard, you see, again, we have a visual in our mind. Well, my generation do, of the old guard being this kind of military, the old guard. I mean, a sort of military, regimental, authoritarian, fascist type of imagery. But our ancestors, though, have also, I mean, not just our ancestors, not just the generation before us, not just our parents' generation or the baby boomers. We've got to look back at the ancestors from hundreds, thousands of years who have worked really hard building something solid and lasting over a lot longer period than just this weird, it's almost like a blip in civilization from the 60s to now. This weird 50 years. So much has changed in 50 years, and the family has absolutely been decimated. And what the consequences of that are is the lowering of the birth rate. And I know it's progress in terms of women having control over family planning. But then that's also, I know this sounds incredibly, and I never thought I'd be saying this 20 years ago. But it is interfering with nature. Catholics would say interfering with God's will. You should not use contraception and all that sort of thing. But there is a balance, isn't there? Somewhere down the line, there's a balance. You can go too far with saying, no, leave it all to nature, because a lot of technology has saved people's lives, with operations and laser surgery and things like that, and that's interfering with God, I guess, God's will. But where is the ethical limits of these things, So that's what we really have to deal with. So there are negatives and positives on both sides, and that's what I sort of wrote about in this full moon. And traditions worth preserving that took generations to build, which are Saturn, could so easily be trashed by these silly offended snowflakes, which is Venus, actually. And this is a statement that I also wonder about. This is what I wrote at the end of the new moon post. On the other hand, there are the stagnant, corrupt, satanic Saturnians who need challenging by Venus in her form of Lucifer, the light bringer. And this is the weird thing. It's like, Venus does have two sides to her. And in traditional astrology, she's either Lucifer as a morning star and Hesperus as the evening star. And the morning star was actually supposed to be more dangerous as well. So but it's kind of weird because the morning star was actually in Greek phosphorus, and it does mean the bearer of light, and then that's its translation is Lucifer in Latin. But then you get this kind of confusion with Luciferianism and the pentagram upside down, and is Lucifer a good or bad thing? And then Satan, Saturn as well is the same thing. But it just seems really, at the end of the day, that demonization happens of whatever was being overthrown, really. That's the demon. That's the evil thing. The new thing is the good thing. So that's the kind of revolution. That's what a revolution is. It's just a turning round of things and turning things upside down, and what's good becomes bad, what's bad becomes good. And that's why Satan, I mean, when Christianity came and turned over the sort of pagan religions, and the pagan religions, a lot of them had, the horned gods, and they were, that was turned into Satan. But the problem is now that what's happened is that those sort of symbols of Lucifer and Satan have been turned around by progressives, saying that, oh no, they were just like the old pagan religions that were actually really earth-based, and that there was sacredness in the earth, and the primitive peoples were more spiritual than the Christians who took over, and Satan and Lucifer are actually good things. Well, I don't think they always are, and you have to be really, really careful with this, because the way I see it with Venus is, yes, she has her good and her bad sides, and she is the light bringer. And actually, what I did want to talk about as well, which is related to Lucifer, is the patron saint Lucy, which is really interesting because in southern Italy she was worshipped as a saint, as Lucia, and it also found its way up to Scandinavia. It's just a tradition that at Christmas time, it's the return of the sun, and a fair maiden walks down the middle of the church with a crown of candles, and that's Lucida. So that's very Venus again. So those are the positive sides of Lucifer, or it's the positive side of Venus, but it does have a negative side as well. And the negative side of Venus is something that we do have to, take on board. And the fact that when we look at pentacles, money, when you see the pentacle symbol on the tarot cards, it's the pentagram. So money can be good and it can be evil as well. And it's money in itself isn't evil, just as a weapon isn't evil. It's the use that it's put to. So this is what we have to always remember when we are looking at energies that Satanists use, like the use of sex to the debasement of sex to turn it into an evil energy. As whatever turns away from life really is evil. So maybe the reason that Luciferianism is imbalanced is because, or is an evil thing, is because it's not balanced. It's just looking at one side. But the same logic, Venus has a morning and evening star side to her. She has a Lucifer and a Hesperus side to her, and Lucifer on its own is dangerous. It needs balancing with Hesperus. So whatever's happening in the world at the moment, people fighting against the natural cycle of things have gone too far down the decadent path. I mean, it just has. You can see it. You can see it all over popular culture, and nature's a wonderful thing. It will find the right way, and we will adjust accordingly to what's been going on and what's been done to us by less humane or human people. That's all I can say. So whatever's happening is happening for a reason. Be positive about it, because I don't think there are mistakes, but I think there are no mistakes in nature. There are no mistakes in nature, but there are I sometimes think that nature starts making mistakes, or nature starts acting up when you try to refine it too much, and that's the same for food. With GMOs, and taking it away from being organic, because organic food is the best for you. So yeah, that's really it. Just one more thing to say. Happy New Year, Chinese New Year for the rooster. I think that's kind of quite hilarious because it's actually the year of the cock. And I just think that is so apt for the year that we have Donald Trump taking office. So any of you who are feeling fearful or worried about things, just think of that. Think of it being the year of the rooster. I won't say that other word again because I'll just start. It just sounds rude. The year of the. But you can think of that. Think of the word. Look at Donald Trump and try not to get too depressed, because you have to see the funny side. All right then. I wish you a wonderful Chinese New Year of the rooster. All right. Bye bye.